Hello, and welcome to a very last-minute live video for Side Trek, your sci-fi TV and movie channel. Me and my resident American matey over here, Stormy Bear, were just talking on another channel, the Machine channel.
The Machine.
And I just happened to mention I was going to make this video, and Stormy actually has proper insight into this. So we thought we would just do this video really, really fast. So Crow remake is going to happen. The Crow movie, back with obviously Brandon Lee, 1993, is going to be a complete hard reboot, apparently. It's going to be directed by Rupert Sanders, who did Snow White and the Huntsman, a film I actually quite like, and Ghost in the Shell, a film I didn't like. And will starring Bill Skarsgård, the guy that played Pennywise in the It sequels, is going to be playing the Crow. I just happened to mention to you, Stormy, that I really don't like that this film is getting a lot of attention at the moment, because the cynic in me think it's because that The Crow is a great movie that's ripe for a reboot. The cynic in me thinks that this is getting attention right now because of everything that happened on the Rust movie. Everything that happened with, I'm sorry, I've written the name down. Alec Baldwin accidentally shooting Helena Hutchins in a very similar way, in lots of ways, to what happened to Brandon Lee during the 1993 movie. First of all, just tell us a little bit about why you have a personal connection to this movie and why it's important to you, what we're talking about.
In the late 80s, early 90s, I used to have a special prop effect shop here in North Carolina, and mostly I was working out of Wilmington. I was doing, any kind of specialized prop that had to be custom made, whether out of metal or wood or whatever, I would make. If you look up Storm Bear on IMDb, I'm in there someplace making really cheap movies, man.
Good on you.
So I was trying to get the contract for the miniatures for The Crow. I think the producer was Richard Pressman, and that was one stingy son of a bitch. He just didn't want to spend money on anything. I really don't know who the model makers are or were that actually got the contract, but I was giving it my good old college try. And, at that point in time, Wilmington, or Wilmywood, North Carolina, was everybody knew everybody. We'd all worked on other things together. It was a small, tight-knit community, and even, prop makers like myself, we'd rub elbows with celebrities, and it was just nothing. It was just like, well, this is my bud, right? And so I'd met Brandon Lee in late 92 or early 93. I think it's like right before Christmas somehow. And we used to play pool in this little place, little pool hall in Wrightsville Beach, where is just a seaside pool hall. And I didn't get to work on the film, and I was gutted when I found out that Brandon had been shot and killed on the set. And James O'Barr, the guy that wrote the original graphic novel, The Crow, he sent me a nice autographed copy, with an inscription, I miss Brandon too. And it was the people that were making the film, and just in Wilmington, in the film community of Wilmington, North Carolina, we were just flabbergasted that this could possibly happen. And there's a scene in the movie where they're playing poker, and there's these bullets on the table or whatever, and they're flipping them up and they're swallowing them or whatever. And then all of a sudden they have to go. There's something they have to rush off and do. My theory is that when whoever was responsible for the guns put one of those back into the gun, right? Yeah. Well, the thing is, those weren't real loads. Those were not loaded. They were just, props. but the slug in the brass that it just fell out and stuck in the barrel. Usually when you're on set and you go through and you check a gun, you stare down the barrel with a light on the other end and make sure there's no obstruction. And so no one did that, and so the slug was still in the gun. And so for another scene, specifically the one where they killed Brandon Lee, they put the blank round in, which is mostly all just gunpowder. And then when the actor pointed it at Lee and pulled the trigger, it hit him. And there was the actual slug come stumbling out of the barrel at high velocity and got him right in the chest.
That was the thing, is that there was never really a clear explanation. You said that that's your theory. There was a few. One was just like a piece of something, shrapnel or something, was in the barrel. It wasn't cleaned properly, and obviously these blank rounds. They've got names to them. I watched the documentary about how they've got 3 or 4 different types of round, haven't they? That they use. But a lot of these are real guns. I don't even know why on earth they would have any sort of reason to have real ammunition on a film set, but apparently they do. As in some circumstances, in westerns and things. It makes absolutely no sense to me that these weapons would be capable of firing a round. But they want the nice to come out the end, don't they? And to,
the smoke
in the army or whatever, when they're using blank fired rounds, there's a very large cap thing that goes on the end to prevent anything from coming out the end of that barrel. It diffuses the energy, and it prevents any of these sorts of accidents. It crazes my mind that this sort of accident could ever happen, but it's happened twice. How do you feel, though, about the Crow reboot now happening? Because it's going to be apparently a complete remake, a reboot. And I don't mean about them making the film again. I have no major problem. They've been trying. This is a film they've been trying to make for about 15 years. Seriously trying to make. Now it seems to be pushing forwards. The cynic in me says it's because of what happened in the Rust movie and because public interest is in that at the moment. How actually having a personal connection to this, how does that make you feel?
Well, I didn't, when they made sequels to The Crow, continuing the story of The Crow and Draven, Eric Draven character, I really didn't have a problem with it, even when they had turned into a short-lived TV series. It was a continuation of story.
The guy they got playing that was great. That Dukakis guy, he was really good character.
He was good. And I think he, was really honorific to the legacy of Brandon Lee in that role. Lee, man, he did such a good job. He was destined for huge things.
That really was his breakout performance, wasn't
it? And it was just God. But so anyway, it's why there was a bullet on this a live round on the set of Rust is just beyond me. It for on the Crow, it was just negligence. There wasn't any live rounds. There was, I think, some sort of round from that scene. They're all playing cards. Fire it up, and something lodged in the barrel of the gun, and no one checked it. So when they put the overpowered, blank in there and then shot it, whatever was stuck was propelled out and killed Brandon Lee. So what they're doing now, maybe they're trying to make a point, or maybe drift off of the back of the tragedy of Rust, or maybe they're trying. Here's my theory: they're trying to drift off of all the gun massacres in America that's going on. I'm more cynical than you about it. I think it's
every other week.
New York, and then Southern California at the church, and now in Texas. What's going to happen Memorial Day? Here in America, it's just like, well, we give enough thoughts and prayers, we forget about it. Oh, there's another shooting. Let's get out some more thoughts and prayers. I'm more cynical, thinking that, well, they're just trying to draft off of the interest of guns and massacres to try to give it another shot. Because, in the original Crow universe, Detroit was owned by gangs and gang violence. The police had no control. It was just like, if you look at DC's The Joker, the Joker would be like just some inconsequential bad guy compared to what was going on in Detroit in O'Barr's original graphic novels. I mean, it was just out of control.
Not far off the truth at one stage in Detroit, there wasn't.
Yeah.
Seriously violent city. It just feels to me that it's just such bad timing and in bad taste, because it does come off the back of what happened with Rust, and that's not even been concluded yet. We've not had the full investigation, and we still don't know really how it happened, even though we got a good obviously a good idea. They're going to be filming this movie very shortly. It's been greenlit. They've got the money. It just seems to me that the timing is coming off the back of the Rust incident, coming off the back of another shooting in America, that it's just in bad taste. That the only reason that somebody has signed off a check and actually gone, yeah, let's do this, is because they know people are talking about it. And they're not talking about it because of anything good. They're not talking about it because they're talking about it because it's happened again. So they're getting to make a movie basically off the back of a tragedy. And that one of the reasons why this film has not been remade, and one of the reasons why the series was reasonably short-lived, was because a lot of fans of the original, a lot of Brandon Lee fans, said, this is disgusting, what are you doing? How dare you make a movie off this incident, off of what happened? And it's like, but that's what they're doing. That's how it feels to me. I just think and I'm completely with you. Brandon Lee made some horrible movies before he got to make this film. And now he made this great movie. It was not just great acting, great special effect, great, it was just such a beautifully made movie. Even with the way they had to cut it in the end to put a film that was coherent together. It just smacks as me as, I mean, like I say, maybe I'm being cynical, but it just smacks as me as they've only got the funding to go ahead with this because of what happened on the Rust movie, and that isn't right. It doesn't come across as.
Brandon couldn't believe his luck. I mean, he just said, "How the hell did I get this part? This is awesome," And in the late '80s, early '90s was just the beginning of movie studios taking superhero movies seriously, or graphic novels movies seriously, and he was just really enthused, really excited. He was just doing all sorts of things to get into character, to understand who Eric Draven was. And he was just felt really blessed to have this opportunity, and it killed him.
He sounds like a really humble guy.
Oh my God, why? He was a great dude. Yeah, he was just a really honest to God, nice guy.
Yeah.
Not pretentious at all. Yeah, I think he drove
about his upbringing and things, losing his dad in such a young age and things. Yeah. Being brought up, being a Lee, being Bruce Lee's son. You can imagine he probably took a lot of shit as well growing up.
Well, I don't know. I mean, man, that guy was built. I mean, it was just, Brandon Lee was just like, he was a gym rat. I mean, he was just, I mean, he wasn't Schwarzenegger big, but he was really, really fit.
Yeah. And I know he was a good, he was a decent martial artist from what, I don't know if he was the same thing as Bruce. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've heard stories. But, you hear stories about people just walking up to Bruce Lee and just offering him out for a fight because of the mythology of Bruce Lee. I always wondered how much of that rubbed off on Brandon, or whether he actually did have to deal with some of that nonsense. But he never put himself forward as a martial artist necessarily, did he? He was
when we were out and about, no one knew who the hell he was.
Good.
He was just some dude. He could have been, somebody just going to the beach for the week. No one knew who he was.
You wouldn't have been able to do that after The Crow if that.
No, he wouldn't. I mean, yeah, just he was totally. He lived in anonymity until The Crow came out, and then everyone knew who he was then.
Yeah.
But he never had to suffer. I mean, it was just we were two blokes in a bar playing pool every once in a while, or just staying in the bar part. He really didn't drink that much, though.
No, I imagine not. Because, like I said, he looks after himself. So.
Oh yeah. I guess I drank for him, but no, he was just a really humble guy. Just not flashy clothes. Just, I mean, you could tell he could beat the hell out of you, but he never would. I mean, it was just really fit. Nice guy.
That was the old thing in the. He did a film with Dolph Lundgren, which was the worst movie I've ever seen. And he's got a one line in the movie, and he basically tells Dolph Lundgren how much of a big willy he's got. And he goes, they must have just paid him so much money to do that. But he had to pay his dues, didn't he? Like every actor, at some point has to pay your dues, and he did. He did pay his dues in some really bad movies. But then he got to make this beautiful thing. And I think it's definitely one of those films. It doesn't need to be remade. And it definitely shouldn't be remade in the circumstances it's getting remade for me. Would this be being remade now if the Rust incident hadn't have happened?
Right.
Possibly not.
Is the James O'Barr the guy that came up with the idea, that the original artist behind the graphic novel? Has he come out and said anything about?
Not as far as I know, but he has talked about the movie being remade in the past, and it's the sort of thing that he said that he would love a remake to be done, but he wanted a sequel. He wanted something that honoured the original, and at the moment it looks like this is going to be a hard reboot, so it's going to be a completely retelling. I would like to see something more from his wife's perspective, maybe. And a sort of a run up to what happened in the movie, which is something more I think they did in the series. I vaguely remember the series, but there are other ways to tell this story. And I would say there's a graphic novel series. There are other stories to tell. They don't need to do a hard reboot. I think that there are ways they could do it and honor the original story. I'm with you that I wouldn't mind that. I don't like the timing. I just don't. I think it's awful timing. Well, maybe
we're coming up on the 30th.
That's what you got to do. I don't know.
We're coming up on the 30th anniversary of the premiere of The Crow here in a year.
Yeah,
93 at 94, I think, when it came out. I mean, there's so much. You could, it could. There's so many sequel ideas, and you really don't have to remake the original, because I think we've all seen the original. It's not like it's a lost film or anything. But I do understand, Hollywood's just knee-jerk reaction to remake the shit out of everything because they have no real ideas left. But I know O'Barr had enough material to make all sorts of films, off of just that one character. And I don't know. It's kind of personal for me. I know I'm the grumpy old man here, and I just don't see. I'd like to see new Crow content. I say that with every thing that gets rebooted. I remember I was kind of stoic when Battlestar Galactica got rebooted. But I got new content. I was really pleasantly surprised. But I don't know, man. I do find the timing suspicious, especially in light of all the recent shootings. But if you're making this, and you're trying to make it without any mass shootings in America, well, good luck. Because there's always going to be a mass shooting around the corner. So I think that, at least for me, that's kind of an unfair analogies. Oh, we're playing off this mass shooting. Well, dude, you've been writing it for a year. You've been making it for a year. How many mass shootings has there been? I mean, you can't find a place to market it or make it, or it's not going to be during a mass shooting or right afterwards. And I guarantee you, whatever day they pick to premiere this, there will be some sort of mass shooting around that time. Before, and then there'll be one after, and then one will blame The Crow, the remake, for all this violence. And it's just that has nothing to do with
or just blame mental health. It's not a good problem. It's a mental health problem. God, Trump's an idiot. All right, okay. Yeah, well, I'll say it's just really amazing that you've got this personal link to what I consider to be one of the sadder losses. I think like Heath Ledger doing that part in the Raw, the Joker in Batman. How we would have gone stratospheric, and we lost him. I think Brandon Lee. Obviously it's much worse for his friends and his family, people that knew him, like you knew him. It's much so was that. But from a movie lover, I just feel like the amount of what we missed out on in maybe a very selfish way, but what we missed out on, the art he could have created and probably and almost certainly would have created and did create in The Crow, and what he could have done. It's just sad, and I just hope they don't trample on that memory when they make this movie. But maybe I'm being too cynical.
It's Hollywood, man. You have to be cynical.
Yeah, true. Thank you so much for joining me very, very quickly. And again, just every time you tell me a different story about it, just after you mention that, go, I met Brandon Lee. What? That's just amazing. Such an.
I met Carl Sagan too. I just didn't know it at the time.
Yes, and bloody Chris Pine as well. And you didn't know it was Chris Pine?
I was such an idiot. I really was. I was such an idiot.
Met Captain Kirk and didn't notice. You such a tit.
Well, see, so I never watch spoilers. I never read spoilers. I ignore your channel because I don't want to know what's going to happen. So I always try to ignore everything so I can enjoy it in the theater or whatever. And I went to go see this. Wasn't Bottle Shock? What the hell was it? Was it Bottle Shock? No, it wasn't Bottle Shock. Oh hell, I can't remember the name of the movie. Let me go look it up. It was Chris Pine was in this movie before.
Cheap indie movie, wasn't it?
Yeah, cheap indie movie about Napa Valley, right? And I was living in San Francisco at the time, so it's kind of like everybody, it's a movie about wine. Let's go watch it. No, it was Bottle Shock. Yeah. He played a Bo Barrett. It was kind of concerning the historical, kind of historical story about how California wine went up against French wine and won in a contest. And it was it was showing at the San Francisco Cinema Society was showing this at the Kabuki Theater in Japantown. And I went to go see it. All the really hardcore old rich film nerds went there. I, bought my ticket and just went in. So we got to talk with the cast. I had no clue. I mean, I knew his name was Chris Pine, but I, because I'd shunned everything Star Trek, I had not a damn clue about it. We were more, I think I asked him, so are you a white wine or red wine kind of guy? And I can't remember what he said. That was it. That was just
we could have got an insight into what Captain Kirk drinks. You idiots.
No, no, not me.
Yeah, you muppet. Right. Well, thank you so much. Again, I haven't watched Silver Speed. Go watch The Crow. It's a beautiful movie. You really will. These they seem to be marketed as low life in life, late in life stories like Clint Eastwood and Forgiven. Amazon's recent Night Sky. So it comes to mind. There does seem to be a market for that sort of thing at the moment.
Night Sky was amazing.
I still haven't watched it, but I'm going to. I'm just watching the Stranger Things, and I'm watching Night Sky. I've talked my wife into it. So again, Stormy, thank you so much for joining us and bringing us your personal take on this story. The Crow reboot will be filmed this year. It will be out next year. Let's just enjoy it as a movie and maybe not worry too much about the reasons why it got made. fingers crossed it'll be a worthy
Fingers
success.
crossed. And probably the time it gets made and gets out, no one will remember Rust.
Exactly. Well, yeah, I hope. Anyway, thanks again, guys. As always, please stay safe. Stormy, thank you so much for.
You're welcome. Y'all be good.
Oh, if you can't be good, be careful. See you later, guys.
See ya. Bye.